literally.
And at the end of a 45-minute meeting, I've helped sick kids at the Starlights Children's Hospital, which is my chosen charity.
When you're first meeting someone, you're trying to build a connection, and with Meetings for Good, you just find the connections automatically there.
And when I actually think about what Meet Magic does and the opportunity to spend some time supporting the community of our vendors, but also being able to give back.
And when the opportunity presented itself to join Meet Magic, I jumped at it.
But these ones are different, and the reason they're different is because the vendor wants to meet with you and they're willing to put their money where their mouth is.
All of those meetings blur into one, but Meeting for Good is memorable.
It absolutely makes sense to do this, and I definitely recommend peers to engage with Meet Magic.
A movement of people all around the world, feeling of belonging to our community, of people who want to give back, is in itself its own reward. So tonight, this is the launch of the Meet Magic Digital Impact Card. This is a movement of people all around the world that are giving their time to give back to society. And they do it in such a simple way that it's ridiculous. We've created a platform for executives and decision makers to log on, choose a charity that they want to support, and make a difference just through a very, very simple meeting.
So we're going to launch with a $30,000 donation to the Raphael Rowe Foundation. And as you can see, it's not a check, it's a card.
With just one meeting, you will change lives.
Well, there we are. That's a couple of videos that you may have seen on LinkedIn at some point. But for those that don't know, I'm Carl. I'm the founder of a purpose-led digital hub called Meet Magic. And it's an AI-driven platform that gives executives and decision makers an opportunity to keep up to date with the latest trends in technology and share insights just by doing what they do every day, with a bit of a new twist because we donate money to charity as a result of those connections. So I think most execs know that to solve real challenges of the world today, decision makers right across the board know they've got to use technology. That's the bottom line. So I think one of the things that we've discovered is that purpose and trust is what decision makers all want. They don't want a pushy salesperson. They're sick and tired of the cold calls and the spammy automated emails. So we think it's time for a change. So with that, I'd like to introduce now my guest, who is all the way from America, Rodrigo Navarro, who is the global head of technology for technology services for Anuvu. Now, Rodrigo, welcome. Did I actually pronounce that right?
Yes,
Anuvu.
yes, Anuvu. Thank you, Carl. Thanks for the invite.
No, my pleasure. It's look, it's morning here. The sun's not even come up. I'm still half asleep. Well, actually, I'm not. I got up at 5 o'clock. It's only 7 a.m. here in the morning. Whereabouts are you, Rodrigo?
It's 5 p.m. here in Washington, D.C. area, most precisely in Virginia, outside D.C. That's where I am now.
Ah, beautiful. So you must be looking forward to November then.
Yep, that's a great place for that.
Yeah. It's going to get kind of chaotic over the next few months for you, I'd imagine.
It's hot here. It's above 100 today. Sounds like 40 degrees Celsius.
Wow,
Right.
that's kind of look. I mean, Sydney normally gets kind of hot like that as well. But so tell us about yourself, Rodrigo. Tell us about Rodrigo and Anuvu. What's Anuvu?
Anuvu is a new name for a company that used to be called Global Eagle Entertainment. Global Eagle Entertainment is a provider of connectivity for people off the grid. When I say people flying and airplanes, yachts, cruise lines, or somewhere in the world where connectivity is a problem, right? So we resolve those. We provide that via satellite. So we are a satellite provider as well. But the entertainment part came from being I would call it a broker for Hollywood studios. So we represent the studios, the studios that provide the films and content for the same thing for airplanes and cruise lines in general.
It's interesting. I just flew back from the UK. and I had why I flew with Etihad. Why is the internet so bad?
It is a challenge. Technically speaking, still a challenge. Uh, I don't know if you have ever set up a direct TV antenna or one of those dishes, right? When you have to point to a specific angle and
Yeah.
somewhere in the sky, and if you miss 1 degree or something, they're gonna be off, right?
Yeah.
So just a bird that passes by and it blinks your signal. So it's still a very have to be very precise. And we're talking about objects in moving, right? With a cruise on a ship or an airplane, which is even more challenging for turbulence or just quick turns, and so keep in mind how this satellite is pivoting, trying to connect
Mm.
to that with a beam to this satellite that is somewhere out there, which is also moving. So
I thought Elon Musk had solved this problem. I thought this was all, you know, coverage. You could get coverage in the on a speck of sand in the middle of Africa, and it's all it's
yeah,
all
and
good.
Anuvu, we are also a gold member or a gold with Starlink. So we're also resellers for their solutions as well,
Yeah.
in addition to the typical satellite connect technology. But they haven't resolved the problem for airplanes yet. They're getting into the maritime world, and homes and trains, buses. They're moving, but are not as fast or as challenging as an airplane.
I
So
think the
eh,
I think I think when you get on a business class flight and you pay, $15,000 for a flight, and they charge you an extra $25 to use the internet, and then 90% of the time it doesn't work. I think they should put caveats in those when you're buying it to say, look, it might not work, because it leaves you with a feeling of, you've just taken my money and I've not got any value out of it. And they make the Etihad people told me that it was because they were over the sea and not over land. And I'm like, well, how does that even work? If the signal is coming from satellite, it shouldn't make a difference if it's over land or over sea. But they're just making up excuses. So I
but
think there's a
it might
perception.
be But it might be true as well. Like Anuvu, we're specialized. We do satellite connectivity. There are some other providers like Anuvu that they do ground to air connectivity.
Right.
So they're based on land or ground as antennas. And when they are on the sea, they're having trouble because of that. Yeah, so some are hybrid, some they're different technologies, but that's what you know that's what the quality of what we provide, it makes a difference, and that's why we're in business, because we are careful with the quality that we provide.
Look, I've been in telecoms for 20 odd years. I started my career in telecoms when when John Legier from Global Crossing had a T1 in his house, and he was
That was
he was bragging about it on the internet that he's got a T1.
It was the luxury at that time, but you have to keep in mind also that's one of the challenges. People are going from home, having a whatever bandwidth you have is going to be huge these
Yeah.
days, and then you go on airplane with satellite connectivity, and the cost associated with that for the airlines. How they're doing their best effort to share
Mm.
that bandwidth among these different people on the air, but it's becoming a commodity as well, and it's a challenge to you know especially when everybody wants it free and wants it as good as at home. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge, definitely. And but we're working hard on that. We focus on analytics, and
Mm.
data analytics is a key to measure the quality. We're actually working on an important project to uh, keep in touch with the airplanes as they go in real time, monitoring the quality with specific build dashboards to take care of those concerns, and measuring and adjusting as we go as well for any inconvenience that might be causing to the passengers.
It's great. Innovation is good. So what inspired you in the beginning? I mean, I'm 54 now, so technology's changed a lot since I was a kid. In fact, we didn't have any technology when I was growing up. We had a black and white television. That's how it all started. But what inspired you to get into technology?
Well, I'm originally from Colombia, South America. And so I was born in Colombia, and I did my education. I took my education in high school and university there. My background is I'm a system engineer from Colombia. Uh, I did some business MBA stuff over there as well. But one of the reasons we were talking about how's was the weather. I was between being a civil engineer and systems engineer, and one day I was going to the university in a very hot, no AC, no air conditioner in the bus. You can imagine 100 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius, and I was seeing these guys that were doing the plans with the instruments to measure the roads, and they were planning to do a bridge. And I saw these civil engineers out there. And that day, I made a decision. I said, "Okay, man, I want to create technology. I don't want to build bridges because it's too hot out there." So that's one of the key factors for the final decision between being an engineer for building bridges or building software. I like to create. That was the main thing. I like to build
Mm,
stuff, technology. I'm a gadget widget guy. I all like to have all the latest and like to try myself and learn. So I think I was into technology from before it
from very-
existed. Yeah, I was trying to hack the antennas and home. Uh,
oh,
when I was born, I was like, we only have one channel, right? One TV channel, and that's all we have, right? So then there was
wow.
the second and the third. We're trying to play with that. So I was kind of excited about the
I,
communication and yep.
I read somewhere that you're actually helping companies in South America find opportunity in North America. Is that right? You got some sort of incubator connection?
That's correct, Carl. It's my main motivation. Is pay it forward, and what I was able to achieve. Coming from Colombia, I've been in the U.S. for 24 years. Came right in 2000. Uh, I came here to looking for opportunities for a business I have in Colombia. I was running a business for 10 years, and I was looking for expansions and new markets for my software. And I came here and never went back. I was when the first time I came, I received an offer, a job offer. So I had to wait for the visa and waiting for the next thing. And next thing was 9 years since I went back to Colombia to visit the rest of the family. But
Wow.
the so I came here to the US for looking for new markets for a business. But I know
Mm,
how difficult it is in Colombia to create and build businesses and maintain the businesses. It's really hard. It's so I have a natural admiration for entrepreneurs, for startups. It is I know how what's the feeling waking up at 3 a.m.
yeah.
with your account overdraft, and you have to pay the payroll next day, right? I know the
Shoot.
feeling, right? And the wrong way is there, is ending, and you have your startup, and your dreams are maybe going nowhere. So I came here, start doing working for technology companies. I came at the end of the dot-com bubble,
Mm.
and but I stay. 9/11 hit me as well. I was trying to do security, a career in security. I was working for McAfee. So I was
Ah,
one of the best times. That was the best time because it was the worst time for viruses. So I was
yeah.
there when all the famous viruses that you can remember, all these historical viruses, were blooming, and we were fighting on the other side on the
I remember.
McAfee. Yeah,
Mm.
so I was great. Then I started going back to startups, and finally, after acquisitions and mergers, I ended up working for Sybase. Uh, that doesn't exist anymore. Was acquired by SAP. So
Yeah.
in 10 years, I had the opportunity to go through all these technologies, have mergers, acquisition, doing a career in all this, and ended up with SAP, which probably was like it is one of the biggest software companies in the world. So I was like dream come true. I was in charge of the hub for SMS and MMS, all the short
Ah,
messages. They bought this company uh, to add it as part of their portfolio and the solution. So I built the infrastructure. I redesigned the whole infrastructure for SMS exchange in the world with the
wow.
US. So
That's very cool.
it was nice. It put me into critical systems, critical services, because that
Mm.
doesn't stop. It's like we're talking about billions. of messages per day,
Yeah.
and couldn't take more than 2 seconds to pass these messages and deliver. It was a challenge, interesting, but was enough for me. And one day I say no more. And going back to startup, so I had the opportunity with a partner to start a mass flight, a data solutions company for aviation. That's how I got into the aviation world. So we start doing analytics and pretty much data solutions for airlines at that
It's
point.
very cool. I mean, look. I mean, SAP are a great customer of ours as well. We're working. Meet Magic is working with SAP. In fact, we've got two divisions of SAP. I think one of them is SAP Synavio, and the other one is SAP. I forget which one. Just the main brand of SAP. So we've been working with them for a couple of years now. But the whole MMS and SMS piece. I mean, I remember all those when it first kicked off, and it seems like it's moving into this really interesting era now. And I know we're sort of going off topic about what your mentors were and so on, but this is
Mhm.
really interesting. It fascinates me because I've just recently discovered, people today, for example, decision makers like yourself don't like to be cold called. They don't like to be cold emailed. They don't like to be spammed and LinkedIn, everything else. It's just like all this noise coming at them. And even the SMS is overloaded now because you don't know what's a scam SMS. You don't know what's real anymore. And so it's become this 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 dirty word almost. It's like you get these SMSs on your phone constantly, and you don't know whether it's real. The providers are not doing enough, I don't think, to actually filter those out. But one of the things that I'm seeing now for B2B, and this is very cool, I think is AI driven, of course, um, and it sort of plays into you helping those startups in South America getting into North America. You can now drop a voicemail message ringless onto someone's phone. So the phone doesn't even ring. There's no SMS. It's just a voicemail. And so you send that mass send it out. And so you can send 10,000 voicemail messages with your voice, with your message that's tailored to each person with their name. This is crazy.
And you don't realize how he made it to my cell phone, right? It was like,
Yeah.
where that came from. I didn't miss any call.
But the good thing about that, think about it. It's like, oh, that's interesting. You're just listening. So you're not being, it's not invasive. So it doesn't make you feel like you've just sent me a text. Where'd you get my number from? This is a scam. It's gone onto your voicemail. And so when you're listening to it, you're thinking, oh, that's actually it.
Legit.
Very unique, right? So I think there's a whole lot of innovation happening with definitely with AI, and that I've just learned about that. And you can actually do video as well with this, so you can send videos to someone's phone rather than just sending them a text. So there's a whole lot of, I think SMS is evolved, right? It's gone crazy, but it's
It's
changing
still,
for the better.
but it's still important, right? This is like email, and you were talking about lead generation and contacting cold calls, and email still the king. I heard that. I keep listening to that, and that had never changed. And
Yeah.
SMS has an important place as well because it's not depending on apps, and
Yep.
that some people delete the apps because they're running out of space, or they
Yep.
just automatically disabled by the iPhone, let's say, because you don't use it. So
Mm.
instead, you always have the SMS available, and the statistics are that you look at the email, at the text message within 10 seconds. So it's
Yeah.
nothing better than that. So it's an interesting piece of the puzzle, I guess, and it's still valid, right?
No,
So,
absolutely. So
well,
growing up, I mean, you've obviously you've got a mother. So I'm not going to ask you what your mother would have called you, but who are your mentors growing up?
well, that's I've been an interesting. I've been blessed by having the opportunity to go through. I founded my first company in 1990. So
Mm,
I've been a long road, and 10 years in Colombia, 10 years as an employee in the U.S., and now for like I was like with my own company for about 5 years until we have an exit, and we were acquired by what is Anuvu today, or Global
Yeah.
Eagle. So we came by an acquisition of the startup that we founded in 2011. And I have many mentors. I have my godfather who reappeared in my life. Today he's 99 and a half years old. So I
Wow.
had the opportunity. I always relate that to Kiyosaki's book. So I have my rich dad and my poor dad. Then my poor dad, or my dad, was a lawyer. He passed a few years ago, but
Mm,
told me the right path. And my godfather showed me the how to make money path. Right, he was the one who actually created the entrepreneur. I seen him that
mm,
without the MBAs was able to manage 7 different businesses in one notebook,
mm,
and so I have mentors like him, like that show me uh big thing. I still learning from him, even from the memories. It's like seeing a he was 65 years old one day. He told me we went to his farm and he showed me, it's like, I'm gonna plant some trees here because one day I want them to grow up and then gonna give it the shade. So we're gonna cover the like I was thinking like he's 65 years old and thinking about planting trees that one day they're gonna give us a shadow, right? Like I mean, well, how is that possible? Today I was like, I'm almost there. So I was thinking, wow, he was young then.
yeah.
So many things in life. Uh, so I learned from him. I learned from Joshua Marks, who's the CEO of Anuvu as well, has been a mentor. He has been a
Mm,
young guy, right? He's younger than us, but he has been he was my partner with Mass Flight, and then
mm.
we went through the acquisition of Global Eagle, today Anuvu, and and he made a path all the way up to being the CEO of Anuvu as of today.
What's
So
been the hardest? What's been the hardest part for you with this with startups? Because I think the startups are. I mean, obviously I'm in one, and I understand my own challenges. And what you mentioned before about payroll, that's absolutely real for many startups. You know, if you
yeah,
and I think we're going to start to see a number of them, a number of startups finish now. I read yesterday that in Australia, there's so many hundreds of startups that were started up on the in climate change technology, and they're not getting funded and they're not making money. And so somebody has to come along and either fund them or they're going to die. And this is, off the back of all this climate change stuff that's going on. So all these tech companies have started up, but it's a long-term view of whether or not this is going to make money or not. If you've got a battery company, it could take 20 years before they start to make a return. And so I don't think when you start to look at the investment in those companies, they're looking for a return way quicker than 20 years. So I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to struggle to raise money. And so I've always had the opinion that instead of going to raise money, just find a customer and make them happy and get them to keep buying again. And so it's much easier to find a customer than it is to find venture capital. What's been the most difficult thing for you in the startup world, Rodrigo?
well, there are a couple things that I like to touch that I don't want to leave this unanswered questions about my connection also with South America and the startups, but I
Mm,
also answer that question is uh, we went through this. I actually started reconnecting with Colombia after, I mean, again, I was like 12, 13 years here when we were building this startup in the US, and we went to Colombia looking for developers and engineers to build this solution that was successful, that was mass flight back in 2011. So looking for startups or small companies that we can leverage to build this technology, I was able to go back to business meetings. So going through pitches, that I was receiving pitches. We went to like matchmaking meetings organized by Pro Colombia, the Pro Export institution there, and
mm,
organization. And they all these companies, seeing these companies doing a pitch every 20 minutes to us, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much we can do to help because
mm,
they're good. I know they are good. I know they can excel, but the pitch is terrible. So that's how the idea was built. It was like I can help. I can, pay forward. I can give them back so they can expedite their path to the U.S. or to any other country or any other market. That's how we started, and from there we created a methodology to evaluate, do an assessment, Are you ready for internationalization? So we create these methodologies that I can replicate. So today we have people prepare for, do the evaluation and do the, we call it discovery. So we don't want to call it evaluation, but it's a discovery. What do you have, your value proposition, what are your business model, and what is your strategy, go to market, what is your marketing, what is your sales, and going back to your question. So on this path that have been also 8 years now, I've been helping companies, mentoring. I also mentor for different organizations. It's my passion, definitely.
Mm.
I feel alive when I can give back to these
Yeah.
people. That's definitely. And I saw in some, looking at some of your videos also, and your information of what Mid Magic does. I felt identify with your motivation as well,
Mm.
because it's definitely that's what moves me is give back, right? And we don't need much to give back. We all can give back.
Yeah.
We always saying, "Oh, when I get retired, then I'm gonna give back," or when I raise my kids, or we always postponing or
Yeah.
conditioning when we can give back. We maintain today. I created, I founded a company called Apalanca. It's a word in Spanish for leveraging. It's a
Mm.
kind of playing with the words, but it's kind of leverage. So it's like we are the support for companies who wants to go to another market. So
Mm.
that built my passion to do this, to help them cross the line, cross the border, create
Yeah.
bridges, culturally speaking, right? Because it's not easy to go to another country, any country. We have Colombia, we have Panama. We were one country, 100 years ago, but
Mm.
still two different cultures, even within one country to go to another region. I mean, I don't know if Melbourne and Sydney might be the same culture, but I think might be some differences, right? So you need to
Very
learn.
different. They're weird. We don't talk to them.
Yeah, the same thing. Colombia, we have multiple countries within one country. In the U.S., is the same. We have 50 countries here, and so we close those gaps. So we help them with cultural challenges,
Mm.
legal, especially strategy. We do strategy. We do lead generation for them, and I kind of
Mm.
like I'm the consultant for that company that I created because I'm dedicated to the Anuvu thing and the Anuvu data. Where
Yep.
now I'm in charge of R&D as well, doing all the data solutions R&D, and so we're responsible for kind of innovation in the company in terms of technology, AI. You mentioned as well. We're leading incorporating innovation, innovating with AI as well.
I
And
find it.
yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I think the whole cross-border thing is very interesting. I think there's a lot of value to be said around using video like we're using now, to be able to open up a new market. And one of the things we're starting to see with Meet Magic is we're getting inbound inquiries from Silicon Valley founders who may have an A round or B round of funding to expand into new markets. And often those new markets are Asia Pacific, or it might be Europe, or it might be Australia. And the traditional way for them to expand is to hire a person, put them on the ground, get them started. Hopefully they're the right person. Hopefully they've got some contacts. Hopefully they can open the doors. Hopefully they can find an opportunity. Hopefully they can cover their own costs. There's a lot of hope in there, right? It's kind of crazy. But that model, I think we've changed it in the sense that we can just open the doors for the founder to have 20 conversations very quickly and discover and do that discovery piece yourself and do that very quickly and very economically without having to hire somebody and hope they're going to work. And I think the value of that is that it's obviously it's much quicker, but it then gives the opportunity for the founder to attract the right talent into the business to take those opportunities forward. So I'm quite encouraged by the fact that we're starting to build a reputation in that cross-border thing. But one of the stories that I want to share is one of my founders, one of my shareholders, is a guy called Rory Sutherland, and he's the vice chairman of Ogilvy in the UK. And Ogilvy are probably arguably one of the best advertising companies on the planet. He tells a story about how he wanted to do some business with Meta or Facebook. So Meta, they had this opportunity to do business with them. But to go to the business is only a tiny bit of business for $50,000. The CFO would not approve 2 business class flights for $25,000 to go to America to win a piece of business only worth $50,000. Economics just didn't work out. And so they did the pitch via video and they won the business. And it was easy for them to obviously have a video call, talk about what they want to do, close the business, and that $50,000 deal came in. They're now able to expand that and turn it into multi-millions of dollars worth of opportunity for their company. So I think discovery calls are very easily done via video and
Definitely.
cross-border. And it just makes so much more logical sense to do it like that than it does to fly all the way over the seas or wherever you're flying to at great expense and hope that you win the deal. So I think there's something quite unique in what you're doing and how you can encourage those founders to actually meet with people in America via video first to open up their market.
Yep. Definitely, we came to the same conclusions, and there are multiple things that you mentioned that resonate. I like the history, the story, the people telling their life, their success is one of the biggest motivation. We found that out. We're actually running a podcast called Top Latin Minds because we're also going through people that want to share what you said. It's saving time, saving money, saving pain. I made
Yeah.
so many mistakes when I arrived to the US that I only need a mentor at that point that I will be, they give me, don't do that, don't buy that car. Then I learned there is something called lemon cars here, so that, they look nice outside and they're really bad inside. I made mistakes paying for lawyers more than I should, going to the wrong place because I have some paradigms coming from Colombia that chambers of commerce are for something and the chambers of commerce here are for something else. So making mistakes, it's a soft landing. I think is the concept, right? That we are talking about is have a soft landing. So when you come to the other side of the world, you have somebody who can work with you, but you don't have to save on various resources that you need for something else. And
Do you
and the,
do you find that the guys who are, or the guys and the girls that are doing the startups in Colombia have come from a very tough background, and so they're solving problems that are very applicable to what's happening in America at the moment?
yes, there's so much talent there because
Yeah,
the most difficult situation is in a country. The people are more resourceful, yet people are
yeah,
more creative. The good thing about the Latin or the Latinos in general is they are so creative. They are like they're unused to like I go by the this ROM book or this job description. There's no job descriptions, right? You have to do what you have to do, especially at the startup level. It's even worse, right? Or small medium sized company, which are the majority. You have to be
yeah.
creative. You were not hired to punch cables only. You have to do and learn and multiply what you learn. And
Mm.
so it's great talent that we have there. uh, Once we break these cultural gaps and differences, they're the great resource to work with.
Yeah,
And they're facing problems. I have in my notes here something you mentioned is the challenge they are facing in terms of finding capital or funding is one is cultural. One is one of the biggest challenges.
right.
Uh, but the main challenge is what you described. You said it right. I think the same way. We in general are creating or building companies that are not designed to sell. So how
Mm.
these companies are going to survive, right? So instead, they're creating the two guys who build an app, great solution, and they build it. Once they finish, they look at each other and say, what are we going to do now? Who's going to sell this, right? And most likely they start looking for founder or investors, and sometimes they give up, no wrong way, and they started a new project, and as
Yeah,
on and on. Instead of, I think we forgot how to sell. We shouldn't forget how to sell. I was
yeah,
part of that traditional sales training, even though I have my technical background and I thought I hated sales. For me, selling was a guy sweating on the streets as with a, I don't know, like some device, or selling TVs, or I don't know, the big box or something. That for me was a salesman.
Yeah.
And and so I probably was allergic to sales. But once I started my own company, then it was like, oh, I think I need to learn. So I had to do
Yeah.
early training. And I remember, like, we were taught how to shake hands, where to carry your suitcase, how to pull the chair, how you look at the other person across the desk. With so many things that we forgot about that, and we want to sell. And so I think we need to go back to basics and supplement.
Very completely agree. I absolutely 150% agree with what you're saying. I think we've started a campaign now where we're starting to train salespeople in learning how the basics. It's like, do your research for a start. If you're going to meet with Rodrigo and he's the CIO or the CTO of a company, well, you've got just go on the internet and have a look at what his interests are and what he's working on at the moment. You'll find stuff out there. Look at the annual report, read the annual report, find the company's strategy and where they're going, and you can understand their challenges, and then you can align yourself with that. But a lot of these young salespeople don't do that. They just want to walk into that meeting and say, "Will you buy my stuff? Give me a PO." It's like, stop, stop selling. And I think that's
or give me the $1 million, because my company worth 100 million because of the potential we have. We haven't sold the first one. We don't even have a POC or a demo, but give me $1 million, because I'm gonna be the next Zuckerberg, whatever, right? So
it's crazy. Yeah,
that's the challenge. Is try to build something to sell that you can find customers, as you said. Find your customers. Do your, make some effort first. Try to sell. Look at that. Survive even by yourself without. And even since it's a good deal, you're gonna lose a big chunk of your company, because you're gonna have early investors that they're gonna take everything, right? And so it's not even a good deal. It's not even a good
exactly
business.
right.
So,
I always say that money is a consequence of adding value. And so if you're not adding value, then the money won't be. And if you chase the money, it's like chasing butterflies. And you know what happens when you chase butterflies? It's like chasing a girl. They go away from you. Stop. You have to stop chasing. And the only way you attract butterflies is by building a beautiful garden. And so I say to people, stop selling and create a beautiful garden where people want to come and talk to you. And I often think, in the marketing world, in the sales world, 95% of the people that you want to sell to are not ready to buy, but you're still intent on shoving your product down their throat to buy it. It's like, you have to stop. Only 5% of the people at any one time in your market are ready to buy. And how are you going to find them? It's very difficult. And I think today's market is all around building trust and value. And I think if you're building trust through a connection like this, that's how sales begin. But sales doesn't begin unless you're having a meeting. I think there's too much in this lead generation world that we're talking about at the moment. There's a lot of focus on demand generation, and that it's not demand creation, it's demand generation. So they go and they spend $200,000 on sponsoring a conference to scan some badges, to put them in the top of the funnel, to try and nurture them through the funnel, to download a white paper so they can give it to a salesperson to go and follow up with. It's kind of broken. And all the cost of that is today it's not being scrutinized enough, but it should be, because the ROI from that is very low, if any at all. I'm seeing it all the time. Companies spending $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on a round table or a conference, and they're getting nothing. They're getting nothing out of it, and they're tired because they convince themselves that it's all about putting their brand out there, which is rubbish. Because if you spend $20,000, if you want to get your brand out there, spend $20,000. Go and do some Google ads. Spend $20,000 on Google ads. That'll get your brand in front of more people than it would at a conference. So it's kind of crazy that this market that we've been sold about how you have to go to market is all around. It's all around the strategy and the tactics that were happening 3 or 4 years ago, when there was lots of money around. When venture capital was everywhere, and anybody that had a pulse or a heartbeat could get a job. Well, that's not the case anymore. That's changed. And so now you've got to start thinking differently. It's definitely not about growth at all costs anymore. It's about profitable and efficient growth. And that if you haven't got profitable and efficient growth, then you're going to lose your job. That's it. And that because companies, I don't think we're being told the full story about how many people are being laid off or fired right now. I think a lot of companies are doing it quietly, and they're not telling the market. And so there's a lot of salespeople, a lot of marketing people that are getting laid off because revenues are down, subscription revenues are down, and so there's no revenue. And that's because they're spending all their money on activities that are not producing any revenue. Crazy. I often say if you're going to spend $15,000 on a conference, at a bare minimum, you want $15,000 worth of revenue as a result of that conference. If you're not getting that, it's failed. That's it.
It's all about ROI. It's all about ROI, right? You want the return on investment. It's typical. And I think I lived the .com, same as you went through that. And I think it was enough to say I have a .com, and investor will throw you money, and they want to be part of that. They didn't know what it was, but they put money, and it has been recurring. It's been like different things, right? Big data, analytics, AI now this day, blockchain. So it's just enough that you say one of these keywords, and some investors, but they just do it for some time. They are not naive. They know now. They don't invest on PowerPoints anymore, right? They want revenue. They want attraction. They want to see. It's not. This is not the time for showing off nice projects. It has to be an ongoing effort and generating volume, connections, interactions, something. But if it's not money, hopefully it's money, because now it's coming to the time where if you're not making money by yourself, why do you need an investor? Figure it out first. Come back when you're ready. It's
I honestly think it's much easier to find a customer, and you go and have these conversations, and I think over the course of the past 6 months, we've discovered the top 3 things that buyers are seeking from those conversations. You don't have to pitch to them anymore because they have the internet. They know how to research a product. So by the time you walk in the door, what they're looking for is different. You don't have to sell them anymore because they've already made up their mind that they're interested in buying your product. What they need is the confirmation and the confidence to move forward. That's a big part of the conversation that you need to have, giving them confirmation. They need the transparency in terms of the answers to specific questions about their use case. That's another piece of the puzzle. But they also need validation that what they've researched is actually correct. And so I think that confirmation, transparency, and validation is a key things that any conversation that a buyer is going to have, because I think buyers often have a product in mind as their top choice, but they see additional proof before making that purchase, and that's the market that we're in now. And it's kind of interesting. So we could keep talking about it for hours. Where do you see Anuvu going in the next 12 months? Can you make airline Wi-Fi work?
Well, it's working for our customers. Maybe that one was not our customers, that's for sure. So we have good experience as well. So we have once there are challenges, as I said, just by the nature of what we're trying to accomplish, right? But we are happy with the quality that we're providing as well. Uh, Starlink is going to be in the middle somewhere, right? They are already for some industries, and they are very aggressive with what they're doing, and they have the ears of all the different industries in general, and so they're going to be a play. They're going to They're going to play an important role in this industry. We focus on the media, on improving the technology, improving and combining the different technologies that we have, because the whole technology behind satellite has changed. So it's not the same. It's not the same without getting into technical discussions, but it has changed. So the satellites that we we used to play with are at the different altitude, different location, different technologies. Uh, Changing. Even Starlink, for instance, has also disrupted the industry. So, but no, I think we see ourselves in a competitive market with a line to improve with by technology, by innovation.
Yeah.
Uh, AI is it's a key player, and making a difference.
Mhm.
From my corner, what I in charge of, that's what we're looking at. We're looking to change or improve by adding intelligence, adding AI as the main thing, quality control to everything that we do from the beginning until the end. Everything has to be uh, numbers, data driven, analytics driven. That's the key. That's how we can make a difference. It cannot be
I,
playing by ear, right?
it's really inspiring, Rodrigo, to see what you've done with your life and what you're doing to try and help others improve their life. You know, that cross-border thing from South America to North America. I really respect that. I think it's a beautiful purpose to go to work, and you must feel good about that because it really must feel good to be able to help others to open their world. And if there's anything I can do to help as well, I'm more than happy to help open our doors into Australia or into Asia or wherever you feel the need to. If you've got one of your founders who's looking to connect, to have a conversation with someone to see if it's a right fit for the market, I'm more than happy to help you guys do that because I think it's beautiful. You supported us obviously signing up to the platform, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think yeah,
No, it's good.
it really
Likewise,
is.
Carl, you already opened the door for me, and I appreciate it. And likewise, I'm here in the U.S. and South America. We have connections in multiple countries in Latam, Panama, Salvador, and
Yeah.
Peru, Panama, and Colombia especially. But
Do you know?
we also have a foundation in Colombia called
Mm,
the Apalanca Foundation, of Fundación Apalanca, which is for we help kids uh, through sports activities and learning soft skills or skills for life in general. So because for regions that are very in difficult situations, and
yeah.
so we're focused on kids between 14 years old to help them to be away from the problems out there in the streets that they
Yeah.
are facing. They're like little kids, girls that they need to find ways to make their living, and so it's paying forward. It's all about that. It's how we can funnel that.
Let's talk about the foundation that you're supporting because maybe we can add them to the charity part that we have. And so when you have a meeting through Meet Magic, the funds can go to that foundation. So maybe
Okay,
that's
all right.
that
Yeah, that
might
would
be
be great.
yeah. I mean, like let's talk about that offline. But I think we're starting to open up now in America, so we're starting to have more and more conversations with tech leaders like yourself, and it's just going to be a matter of time, I think, before it takes off in America. The platform that we've built. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about your supporting your foundation. So that'd be I'd like that.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Thank you very much. And here I am, open to anything that I could be helpful with. And again, appreciate your invite. You're doing a great job, and opening the door for all of us. Thank you. And
Thank you so
be
much.
in
I'm
touch.
very grateful. And thanks for getting me out of bed this morning. It was 7 a.m. podcast. I kind of my brain doesn't switch on properly until about 8 o'clock, but it's forced me to open up my brain a bit earlier, which is very good.
All right, Carl. Thank you.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Everyone.
Okay. Bye bye.